In this lesson, we'll discuss Max's parameter curve out of range types. The curve out of range types are designed to loop our animation as it passes out of its range of keyframes. Let's go ahead and learn what each type does to our animation. We'll access our curve editor, and we saw a number of ways we can access the parameter curve out of range types, either from the controller menu, second to last selection, or from the toolbar. And another way, if you were to use the mini curve editor, we can access the same controller menu with the same out of range types located at the same place. I'm going to go ahead and close out the curve editor, and I'll undo back the selection of our ship. We'll go right to the parameter curve out of range types. So you can see by looking at this, we always have at least one playing in the background. Notice constant by default is selected, meaning that after the last keyframe, there's not going to be any animation, any motion at all. Next we have cycle, which will constantly repeat our animation. By looking at our F-curve, we can see exactly what that does. After our last key, it's going to repeat the first and continue that same pattern. Hitting play, here's what that does. Great. Next we have loop, and loop behaves similar to cycle, only with loop we can get a smooth, repetitive motion as we pass out of our range of keyframes. So if we were to hit play, we can see what this does, and it's actually going to right now behave just like cycle does because our start and end keys are at extreme positions. But if you were to look at even the icon, that'll give you an idea of how loop can be most effective if our first and last key are identical. Next we have ping pong, which will constantly play the animation back and forward in time. If we were to hit play, we can see what that does. And then after this we have linear. Linear will actually look at the orientation of your tangent handle and have your animation continue based off of that tangent's direction. So to see this, we can use our rotation Y. Looking at our first key, we can see that, alright, the orientation is at about a 45-degree angle, and we could see how that angle affects the interpolation here, how the animation is going to keep moving back in time in that direction. But if we were to look at the last key, we can see we have a 0 orientation for the tangency. Therefore, the animation is going to stop after this last keyframe. If we were to hit play, here's what we get. Alright, so it's just going to stop. But if we were to add keyframes before our first, or if we were to add frames before our first keyframe, hitting play, we'll see a constant spin. So that's what linear is going to do for us. Lastly, we have relative repeat. And this is going to take our last key and basically offset it in time. So here's how it looks in the curve editor, and I'll go ahead and select each track. And here's how it looks in the viewport. So again, it's just going to take our last key and constantly offset that. And this might be great for translating a cycle forward. Let's say a run cycle. After you have looped the run cycle, you can then use what is called your universal control or global control, move that forward, and then use relative repeat to have it constantly move forward in time. So those are the different cycle options within Max. Now, in the next lesson, what we're going to do is learn how to seamlessly cycle animation.